Okay, so if we're looking like at number 10, since M is the midpoint, all that matters is that when you set it up to play leapfrog, that you put M in the middle. So you can put A first or you can put B first. So in this problem, you leap from 1 to 5. So that's plus 4. 5 plus 4 is 9. And then you leap from, oh, that's weird, 1 to 1, so that's plus 0. Plus 0, there's your answer, 9, 1. We're looking at number 9. We graphed the points. The points will probably be graphed for you tomorrow, but you will have to find how long they are and find the midpoints of them tomorrow. So it says to find the midpoint of each one, and then it has a follow-up question down here. When you're on the coordinate plane and it says to find the midpoint, you have two choices. You could go to that bright green formula chart and you could do the midpoint formula. For example, for AB, I would add my x's and divide by 2, and I would add my y's and divide by 2. That's one way to find a midpoint. But if you're on the coordinate plane, you can just count the rise and the run and just go half of the rise and half of the run. It's really easy. So the rise is 1, 2, 3, 4. The run is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't want to go rise 4, run 8. I want to rise 2 and run 4. I'm going to rise 2 and run 1, 2. I don't know if mine's perfect. I don't know if I graphed them perfect. But anyways, you can go half the rise and half the run. You'll end up getting 2, 3. I think I was a little bit off. It needs to be right there on my graph. It'll be graphed perfectly on the test. My alignment on my smartboard is a little off. So you can go half the rise, half the run. I'll do one more, but I won't need to do all of these. Let's do BC. So to get from C to B, I would rise, let's see, look at this triangle right here. Rise 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it looks similar. And run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm going to go halfway on my rise and halfway on my run. So I'm going to rise 2 and run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like I said, my line's off a little bit, but that would be your point right there. So for BC, what is that? 1. Looks like -1. Perfect. 1, -1. It landed right there. Good. Now, it asks if it's equilateral, isosceles, or scalene. That was on your homework one time. Equilateral means all sides are congruent. Isosceles means 2 sides are congruent. Scalene means 1 side is congruent. So you have to find the length of all 3 of those sides. So this is a really long problem. You have to find the distance, you have to find the length of those sides, and figure out whether they're all congruent or if it's scalene. You can kind of tell by looking at it, but guess what? If we already did this rise and this run, look, this 4 and this 8, if we already did that, then we can just use Pythagorean Theorem to find their lengths instead of having to use the distance formula. So like if I'm trying to find AB, I don't have to do the big scary distance formula. I can just do 4 squared plus 8 squared. There's a lot going on in this problem, so if your head hurts, that's okay because you picked a hard one to start with. So that distance is like 8.94. So you would do that to each side. Let me tell you what you would get so we can spend time on other problems. You would get 8.9 for AB. You're going to get 10.8 for BC. And you're going to get 8.2 for AC. None of those numbers match. We got a different length for each side, so it would be scalene because none of the sides are congruent. We just did Pythagorean Theorem 3 times in a row. So on the test, I won't ask you midpoint and length all in the same problem. I'll either ask these things or I'll ask whether it's equilateral, isosceles, or scalene. Give me a different problem because that one had a lot going on.
Number 6.
14. I heard 14. Oh, no. Okay. Which one? Number 6. Let's look at number 6. You ask the two toughest ones first. I don't want to intimidate everyone right away. Okay, number 6. In the diagram, AC is congruent to CE. So everyone find AC, put a tick mark. Find CE, put a tick mark. So those segments are congruent. How do we show they're congruent? We add that symbol called a tick mark. B is the midpoint of AC. Well, if B is the midpoint, then AB must match BC. So we've got some more tick marks going on. Okay, now we know some lengths. CD equals 2. So let's label our picture 2. AB equals 3. Let's stop right there. If AB is 3, what else is 3? BC has tick marks. Look, we marked our picture. That marking let us know to put a 3 there as well. Find all of those segments. All right, we found one of them right away. What is the length of segment BC?
3.
It's 3. That was easy. We knew that because of this word right here. What is the length of AC?
6.
We can do segment addition. Yep, part plus part equals whole. 3 plus 3 equals 6. And what about DE?
4.
So, oh my goodness, do not say 4. Oh my goodness. So what did the first one say? This matches this. What's AC?
6.
6. So what's CD?
6.
Oh, you were right. Okay, cool, cool. I thought you were just doing 2 and 2. So 6 minus 2, there we go. That you're adding 2 plus 2. Perfect. We don't assume D is a midpoint. So we don't assume it's 2 on either side. We take 6 minus 2. You said the perfect thing. DE is 4. Good job. Just kidding, Miss Tanton. Okay, give me another one other than
15.
Other than 14. 15? 15. For this whole set of problems, E is the midpoint of DF. So everyone go to their picture. On the test tomorrow, when you hear that some point has been promoted to a midpoint, I tell my students he got a promotion and a pay raise. So you need to put tick marks around it so that we know he's not just a random point, he's truly a midpoint. If E is a midpoint and we know DE is 2x minus 3, EF is 5x minus 24, now we can think of a strategy. Before we just start setting things equally to each other, don't do that tomorrow, don't just start setting things equal. Look at what you're given. I even want you to write it down. I want you to mark down if these are parts, or if they're halves, or if they're wholes. What is DE?
D is 2x minus 3.
Is it just a part, or is it more than a part? What do these tick marks mean?
Equal.
It is exactly half. Do you agree that if this is a midpoint, this is exactly half?
Yes.
It's not just a part, it is half. So I'm going to put an H for half. And what about EF? It's another half. They gave us a half and a half. Just keep in mind, sometimes they give you a half and a whole. Sometimes they give you part plus part equals whole. Anyways, if these are both halves, we are allowed to set them equal to each other. Because a half definitely equals a half. But don't set a half equal to a whole. Here's where we sharpen those algebra skills. We need to move all the x's to one side. Let's move them all here. And all of our numbers to the other side. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to add 24 to both sides. We're trying to get our x's together and our integers together. So we've got 2x plus 21 equals 5x. We're going to move this 2x. It's positive. So to move it, we need to change the sign, make it negative. So we've got 21 equals what?
3x.
3x, 5 minus 2, very good. 3 is being multiplied by x. The opposite of multiplication is?
Division.
Division. Divide by 3. X is?
7.
7. Is that what they asked for?
No.
Good. Oh, I love it. They didn't ask for x, they asked for?
DF.
DF. So plug it in. DF. You may plug it in anywhere you feel like. Let's plug it in. Let's start right there. 5 times 7? 35 minus 24?
1. Oh, wait.
11.
11.
Is that good? Is it 11?
Yes.
Okay, if EF is 11, what's DF?
11.
What's DF? Look at the picture.
22.
22, yeah. If that's 11, the whole segment, woo, that was a lot of work. 22. It wasn't bad though. None of that, God bless you. It was a lot of steps, but none of it was difficult math. The math was nice and linear. There were no fractions or decimals. It's good. Okay, give me another one.
10.
23. Oh, 23. Everyone star this one. We want to make sure we know how to do 22 and 23. There's definitely one like that, and we might not have gotten as much practice on these as some of the other ones. Okay, I want everyone to turn 23 into a right triangle. Let's start there. Turn it into a right triangle, aka we're finding the rise and the run. So everyone's turning it into a right triangle. The problem about 23 is that we don't have a grid, so we can't just count like I always tell my students to do, so we need to be careful. Let's circle our X's and underline our Y's just to keep, so we don't mix them up. I want everyone to find delta Y and delta X. Let's do that first. That just means, how far did I run? So my X's were, look, let's mark it. My X's are 3 and 13. Those are my circled ones. So what's my delta X? You go from 3 to 13. How far did you go?
10.
Good. If someone didn't know where you got 10, what would you say you did?
13 minus 3.
Yes, 13 minus 3. Awesome. So your delta X is 10. That's your change in X. Let's find your change in Y. Where did you go from? Look at the underlines. You went from 5. I don't have a grid. I can't count. Oh, no, but I can do this. You went from 5 to 25. How far did you go?
20.
Your delta Y is 20. So maybe just write that as a step over to the side. What did I do first? I found delta X and delta Y because you might forget later, like, she explained this, but what did we do? I don't know. Okay, step 1. Find this. Step 2. You take whatever fraction they gave you. What fraction did they give us?
4/5.
4/5. Whatever fraction they gave you, you take it and you want 4/5 of 20. You want 4/5 of 10. Your calculator can do that multiplication. Don't feel like you need to do that by hand. So you're going to do 20 times 4/5, and you're going to do 10 times 4/5. So that's your next step. I'm going to write it down. Multiply by 4/5. All right, when y'all are ready, you can tell me what you got.
16 and 8.
So our new delta Y is 16. Our new delta X is 8. I don't want to travel right 10 and up 20. I want to travel right 8 and up 16. I only want to go 4/5 of the way. We're almost done. There's only 3 steps. That was step 2. Step 3, you need to make sure you know where you're going from and to. What does it say? From where to where?
A to B.
From A to B. On the test, it might say from B to A. So just make sure you watch out. So where are we starting? Which point are we starting at?
A.
A. So we're on step 3. Since I don't have a grid and I can't count, I'm going to do something I don't normally do. I'm going to write down the coordinates of A. I can't count boxes, so I need to do something else. And I'm just going to do my delta X and my delta Y to this coordinate. This is A. So how far do I move? What's my new delta X? 8. And if I'm here, am I going positive or negative? Positive. Good. So to my X's, I'm going to say plus 8. Where did that 8 come from? Came from right here. What am I going to do to my Y's? Am I going up or down?
Down.
Going down from A. From A, I better be going down. And how far?
16.
16.
Dude, I'm messing up.
I know, it's a hard problem. But this problem will fall in the multiple choice section, not in the free response section, so that might help a little bit. 3 plus 8 is 11. 25 minus 16 is? Now, here's what you don't do. You don't stop right there. You go and plot that point, and you make sure that that makes sense to the problem. So you go back over to your graph, and you're like, okay, if I go over about 11, and then I go up about 9. Oh, phew. On your picture, it'll have a grid. You'll land on the segment somewhere. And so if I were splitting that into 5, I've traveled 4 out of the 5 parts. So anyways, you have all this work shown. Tonight, you can kind of digest that and look at that, okay? So we found delta x and delta y. We multiplied by our fraction. We had a new one, and then we added it on to our starting point. That one has a lot of steps.
How do you know you're minus 16?
Because if I were going from A, headed towards B, I would have to go down and right. I would go down 16 and right, how many? 8. Let's try it on 22 that actually has a grid. 22 has a grid, let's do the same thing. And I'll show you how it's a little bit easier when there's a grid that you can count. So everyone go to 22 and draw a right triangle. Draw a right triangle, 22, awesome. What's our fraction here?
1/4.
1/4. So it's not 4/5, it's 1/4. Let's find delta x and delta y. This is going to be so much faster. Delta x, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Just put a 10 down. Delta x is 10. Delta y, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is easier. They gave us a grid. Thank goodness. Delta x is 10. Delta y is 6. Now what do?
Multiply 1/4.
Multiply by that fraction. I don't want to go up 6. I want to go 6 times a fourth. I want to go 10 times a fourth. These are not going to be whole numbers. What do you get? 6 times a fourth.
1.5.
So my new one is 1.5. And what do you get down here?
2.5.
Okay, now you check the problem. From where to where? Where's our starting point? From H to G. So we're kind of starting up here again. If I'm traveling from H to G, I'm not going to go up. I'm not going to go left. That doesn't get me to G. I'm going to go down and right. How far do I go? It tells me right here. So I'm going to go down 1.5, 1.5, and I'm going to go right 1, 2.5. You land like right there. It's not very pretty, but it's right there. Remember, it'll be multiple choice, so you'll get to choose the one that has that coordinate. But if we were to look at it, we need to plot this coordinate. So it's at negative 1, 2, 3.5, and up 1, 2.5. So we landed at negative 3.5, 2.5. That's where that point is there. It's 3.5. It's between 3 and 4. And then up 1, 2.5. Give me another problem.
Wait, is there like another way to make that 6?
If it is a half or a fourth, you could have found the midpoint, and then you can find the midpoint of the new segment. You can find a midpoint twice in a row. You can't do that with this fraction. But because a fourth is a half times a half, you can find a midpoint and then find the midpoint of the midpoint.
I thought you wanted to find the length somehow. I don't know this.
No. That's only on a number line. No, don't find the length on these. These that go diagonal, never find the length. That's not going to help you at all. You won't be able to do anything with that. Okay, which one did y'all say?
14.
I'm not going to do 14. That would take us a very long time. And I already made a separate video and uploaded it of me doing that football problem where you're missing one. So you just need to look at the key. I showed every step of work on 14. And I already have a video that I uploaded. Promise. I'll send you that. Give me another one. 20. True or false? A midpoint is a bisector. So, a midpoint is a type of bisector because a midpoint divides a segment into 2 congruent segments.
So it's
Yeah.
true?
True. A midpoint is a type of bisector. A bisector can be a point, a ray, or a line, or a segment. But yeah, a midpoint falls under there. It's a type of bisector. Bisect means cut in half. Bisect means cut in half. Give me another problem. Where?
So it's true.
Oh, you don't need to know all the types of bisectors.
Can we do
I just did
18?
this.
So it's true.
It is true. Yes. 18. Alrighty. K is between L and M. We do not want to mix that word up with midpoint or middle. Good. So I purposely don't want to put it right in the middle. Let's just throw it right there. I don't really know where it goes until I look closer at my problem. LM is 22. I'm going to put a W by that. Do you know what that W stands for? You'll figure it out in a minute. Someone said it. KM is 2x minus 3. And LK is 3x. This is a segment addition problem. These two things, I'm going to put a P by them. Why? Those are parts, and this one was the whole. They don't always give it to you in the right order. They don't always give you part and then whole. You have to look at your picture. Sometimes they give it to you out of order. Segment addition says that part plus part equals the whole. The whole needs to be by itself. 3x plus 2x minus 3 equals 22. Part plus part equals whole. We are going to combine like terms. 5x minus 3 equals 22. We're going to add 3 to both sides. 5x equals 25. X equals 5. It did say find KM and LK, so you need to plug that 5 in. Number 11 and 10, you're finding an end point. You're not finding a midpoint. So you need to set it up and play leapfrog. So I'm going to put an end point first. Then I'm going to put my midpoint. And then I will have to look for that missing other end point. You have to fill it out. It says put your names up. So I circle my X's and underline my Y's. And you play leapfrog. So from -4 to 0, that is +4. So I'm going to go +4 again. And 0 plus 4 lands me at 4.
No, that's not.
From 3 to 0, that is -3.
Because you're kind of going too fast.
I'm going too fast.
Yes.
3 times 5 is 16.
Wait, I was going too fast, so I'm pausing. Made up a brand new random problem. So, I'm going to circle my X's and underline my Y's. If you needed help with leapfrog, here we go. Okay, so when I leap from 3 to 5, how far do I travel?
2.
Plus 2. 5 minus 3 is 2. So to get from 3 to 5, I go plus 2. So now you go exactly the same amount again. Plus 2. 5 plus 2. 7. Okay, now I purposely did a -1 so we could see what that looks like. You're at -2 and you go backwards to -10.
-8.
Good, you're going backwards exactly 8. So you get to travel the exact same. You never change this number. -10 minus 8, -18. Very good. That's how you do leapfrog. You do your X's separate from your Y's. 1. Write the converse of the statement and determine if it is true or false. Converse, reverse. Converse, reverse. So we're going to reverse the hypothesis and the conclusion. We're going to reverse, trade places. So if segment AB and segment BC are coplanar,
Oh, we did that. Wait, that's not the
then
test?
converse could be on the test.
Oh, no.
Converse means reverse. Then AB plus BC equals AC. And what we're trying to decide is if it's true or false. The way you decide that is you try as hard as you can to disprove it. If you can disprove it, you write false. If you can't think of a single time when this statement is wrong, then you write true. So let's see if we can draw a picture and disprove this. We want 2 segments. We need them to be coplanar. All of this needs to be true, but we want this to be false. So let me show you a time when it would be true. This is not me proving it wrong. So we've got A, B, C, AB plus BC equals AC. Okay, so I did not prove it wrong. I didn't succeed. Now you need to think outside of the box. All it says is that they have to be coplanar. It didn't say they have to be in order or collinear. So we could change the order up, or we could go crazy and do this. Look at this. A, B, C. Okay. So now, does AB plus BC equal AC? No.
Wait, AB plus BC equals.
I found a picture. I proved it wrong. So am I going to say it's true or false? I'm going to say the statement is false. Because if they weren't in the right order, or if they weren't collinear, then you can throw this out the window. It doesn't work anymore, especially if you drew that picture, it also would not have worked. AB plus BC does not equal this tiny little AC. So 2 ways to prove it wrong.
Wait.
So it's really false.
What
It's
does
not
converse
just-
mean again?
What is converse? Reverse the hypothesis and the conclusion.
Reverse of.
Right before we leave, can we go over that question really quick?
Yeah.
And in conclusion,
Yep.
You said
1B. What are your points? Do you have the same version? BE, yep, negative 38 and 57. Okay, so to find the midpoint, you add the numbers and divide by 2. To find the midpoint, you're finding the middle of the numbers. To find the middle of 2 numbers, you add them up and divide by 2. So go to your calculator. Negative 38 plus 57. You want to press enter and then divide it by 2. Because if you don't press enter in between, it won't do the right order of operations. It's 9.5.
Where are you at?
I went to the partner quiz because someone asked me about it.
Okay, I got it. Thank you so much. Thank
Sure. Back to the review.
Wait, Christina.
Yeah.
I'll finish the part quick. When do you want me to?
Turn and tray. Turn and tray. Okay, what else from the review?
Number 1A.
1A.
A squared plus B squared.
Pythagorean Theorem, yes. So our C is across from the right angle. So when we do A squared plus B squared, we're not looking for C. You don't do 11 squared plus 15 squared. Don't do that. Some of my students will tomorrow. Don't be that person. Instead, you're looking for one of your legs. Wait, let's go ahead and square these. I'm going to actually show my work, which I don't normally do. You're welcome. X squared plus 121 equals 225. So all I did so far was just square 11 and 15. We need to get x all by itself. The way to do that is the opposite of plus. We need to move this 21 by doing the opposite. We subtract 121 from both sides. So 225 minus 121. X squared equals 104. I just subtracted those two. And the opposite of squaring something. Square rooting. Good. So to get rid of that, the last step of Pythagorean theorem is always square root. So the square root of 1.4 is, it doesn't tell us what to round to.
You said 1.4.
104. The square root of 104 is 10.198. And then you just look at the test and see what they tell you to round to.
Oh, is 10.2 okay to round to?
Yeah, if the directions say round to the nearest hundredths, that's what you would round to, or round to the nearest tenth. Yes. What else?
13.
What?
13.
Find the distance. Okay, so we're going to circle our x's and underline our y's. We are going to look at our bright green formula chart and find the distance formula and copy what it says. making sure we keep our x's together and we keep our y's together. They play nicely with each other. Don't put x and y in the same parentheses. They'll get really mad at each other. It's like cats and dogs. So I'm going to put my x's first. I'll do -3 minus 4. So I did circle minus circle. Now I'm going to do my y's. Underline minus underline. Underline minus underline. Then you can go straight to your calculator. From there, you don't have to simplify. You don't have to show each step of work. You can put it straight in your calculator as long as you don't leave off any negatives or leave off any parentheses or anything like that. So when you put that one into your calculator, you should get 9.9. Yep. All right, what else? Five. Okay, midpoint. Oh, good. This one's just like the one I went over on the partner quiz. To find the midpoint, that point that is in the exact middle of these two numbers, you literally add them up, the two numbers, and divide by 2. Midpoint is kind of like finding an average or a mean. If you want to find the average of 3 numbers, you add them up and divide by 3. If you want to find the average of 2 numbers, you add them up and divide by 2. So -15 plus 19 is 4 divided by 2 is 2. The answer is 2. The coordinate is 2. Did I find distance? No. I didn't find the distance and divide it by 2. I just added the coordinates up and divided by 2. What else? Yes?
Can you do 15?
Might have already done that one. Can I do 16 or 17? Okay, I'll do 16. GE is 3y. GH, we need to label correctly or else we're going to be setting the wrong things equal, is 7y minus 4, and EH is 24. So once again, they did not give it to us in the order of part, and then whole. They gave us the part, then they gave us the whole thing, and then they gave us a part. So we need to be careful about what order they give it to us in. But this is a segment addition problem. This is not a midpoint problem because no one said that E was the midpoint of segment GH. So we're going to do part, 3y is a part. I used that one. Plus part, there's our other part, equals the entire segment, 7y minus 4. Part plus part equals whole. I'm reusing this diagram. You have to use it all 3 problems. Okay, so I can add 4 to both sides. So we got 3y plus 28 equals 7y. We need to get those y's on the same side of the equal sign. So we can subtract 3y from both sides. 28 equals 4y. Last step, the opposite of multiplying. Divide by 4. Y equals 7. It didn't ask for y. Don't put y in the answer blank. It asked for GH. So you need to take y, plug it in, not here, but plug it into GH. So you're going to plug 7 in there. 7 times 7 minus 4. 45, yeah. Cool. So don't stop when you find x. Okay, what else from the review or yesterday's partner quiz?
18.
18?
Oh, no, 19.
Oh, 19.
That'd be on the test.
Don't have that out right now. It could be. Divide the segment into 4 congruent segments. You would get your compass and you do that. And you would find a midpoint. Blah. You have to look at your notes from Friday. That was horrible. Sorry. Then you have 2 congruent segments. But if you need 4 congruent segments, then you would open it more than halfway and make an arc. Open it more than halfway and make another arc. So there would be 2 additional ones. And you do it one last time over here. We did this on Friday. And once you find all of those midpoints, you've done perpendicular bisector 3 times, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4 congruent segments. So we split it into 4 by finding a midpoint and then finding 2 more midpoints with our smaller segments. Yes, Angie?
For 4 and 3, it's the same, we solve it the same way, right?
Yes, I like to ask you to find things but phrase it different ways. So find the length of AC means 7 minus negative 15. You always subtract them. Find the distance between B and E, that means 19 minus negative 2. So both of them, length and distance, can be used synonymously,
And it
can be used interchangeably.
negative, right?
Never negative.
So is the length, like number 22?
It is 22. 7 minus negative 15 means 7 plus 15, 22. 19 minus negative 2, that's 19 plus 2, 21. Thank you.
This says find BD.
Same thing as well. So you do 12 minus negative 2. 12 plus 2, 14. Since E is the midpoint of DF, you set DE equal to EF. That's a quadratic. That's not linear. So we're going to bring everything over to the left. So we're going to have, I'm going to work up here, x squared minus 5x minus 24 equals 0. That's a quadratic. You can't just square root both sides. So we have to factor that. X. So we need things that multiply to get 24. This is from algebra. So we've got 12 and 2. We've got 8 and 3. We've got 6 and 4. All of those things multiply to get 24. But we need to choose the pair that we can make a 5 out of. What can you make a 5 out of?
8.
Awesome. 8 and 3. Now, I need it to be a negative 5. So what I want to do, 8 minus 3 or 3 minus 8? 3 minus 8. There you go. So we've just factored that. X plus 3, x minus 8. Those aren't the answers. That's just the factored form. You set them both equal to 0. When you subtract 3 from both sides, you'll get x equals negative 3. And when you add 8 to both sides, you'll get x equals 8. So that's what x equals. There's 2 answers because it was a quadratic, x squared, power of 2. 2 answers. So now it wants us to find DF. So it wants us to find that whole segment. So we need to plug both of them in. There's going to be 2 answers. So let's go to our calculator. Let's do negative 3 first. So let's do 5 times negative 3 plus 24. You would think you're supposed to throw the negative 1 out, but actually, when you plug negative 3 in, you get a positive segment length. So you don't have to throw it out. You get 9. If this is 9 from here to here, if that's 9, what's DF all the way across? That's 9. That's 9. What's DF? 18. So that's one of your answers. Now you plug your other one in. You plug the 8 in. So let's do it. 5 times 8 plus 24. Instead of negative 3, I'm putting the 8 there now. And you get a much larger number. You get 64. If this is 64, then this is 64. So you add them together or multiply it times 2. And that's where the 128 comes from. So those are the answers to the problem. 18 and 128.
I did 8 and negative 3. That's